So welcome to the show. It is a Thursday afternoon. Welcome to the Daily Shred. We're going to try to do this a little bit more frequently here moving forward. Daily might be a little grandiose of a term, but I'm hoping that it won't be a weekly thing moving forward. We're going to try to get a little bit more content out to you guys. My name is Jim Schultz. I'm going to be your host. I'm going to be your tour guide, leading you guys through the forest here this afternoon. And we're going to talk about your 2021 goals, man. Like, let's talk about what you want to accomplish in 2021. I'm going to talk about, a few different, I would say some of the more common goals. So one of those might align with where you are personally at. But I want to hear about it, man. Let me know in the chat box if you're watching live. Let me know in the comments down below the video what your goal is for 2021. That is the #1 best way that you can support what we're doing here with these videos is comment, man. YouTube loves comments, so I do too. So, all right. So let's talk 2021 goals. So the first thing that I want to mention here, I'm gonna steal this from my man Napoleon Hill. So Napoleon Hill wrote that 2-volume set, The Laws of Success, or Think and Grow Rich. I think it's kind of the same thing. I actually read those back when I was in college, and they had a really, really big impact on me. Honestly, now that I'm 39, almost 40, I would say they're probably a little bit too focused on the material things in this world. They might be a little too, prosperity gospel-esh for my liking these days. Esh. Not sure where that came from, but anyway, I would say that if I picked up those books today, I probably wouldn't be as interested. But nevertheless, they had a big impact on me as a youngster. Well, one of the things that I pulled away from those two books in that 2-volume set there was this: if you really want to accomplish something, like if you really, really want to achieve, a given goal, you have one specific thing that you really want to do. Singularity of purpose is by far and away the most important element, right? Singularity of purpose, pushing all your chips in the middle on that one thing, right? Like structuring all the elements, structuring all the variables, structuring all the pieces of the puzzle so that they're all aligned and working harmoniously to achieve that one singular outcome. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself. And as I was thinking about the shred today and thinking about 2021 goals, I don't care what your goal is. I don't care if your goal is just to, achieve some level of overall fitness. We're going to talk about that. I don't care if your goal is for, fat loss oriented. We're going to talk about that. I don't care if your goal is strength oriented. We're going to talk about that too in the next, 20, 25 minutes. It doesn't matter what it is. The best thing that you can do is push all your chips in the middle on that one goal. This is probably the most common mistake that I see people make. They program hop. They kind of grab a little bit from here. They kind of grab a little bit from there, right? They're at the, the fitness buffet table. They're like, ooh, I'll have some, some dumplings. I'll have myself some chuck roast. I'll have myself some carrots and some turnips. Like, I'm going to do all of it, right? That's not what you want to do. This is not the Great Wall Buffet. You want to go all in on the Olive Garden breadsticks. You want to go all in on the minestrone soup. You want to go all in on the zuppa toscana, right? That's what you want to do when it comes to achieving your fitness goals, right? If you kind of bounce around and you do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, man, that's the best way to spin your wheels for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months. And I can say this from firsthand experience. I've done this more oftentimes than I care to admit, but it's the truth. And so I know this to be true in not only what I see in other people, but I know it to be true in what I've experienced myself. So that's kind of the main conclusion today. Like if you've already clicked off, then you didn't even hear that. But if you want to click off now and save yourself the next, 18 minutes or so, yeah, that wouldn't be a terrible thing to do, because you now have the most important piece of what I want to share with you guys today, and it's singularity of purpose. It is pushing all your chips in the middle on one thing. Pick one thing. I don't care what it is, right? Don't let me tell you what your goals are. Don't let anybody ever tell you what your goals are. Not only in life in general, but specifically fitness related, right? Like if you just want to achieve an overall level of fitness, then by all means, man, achieve an overall level of fitness. I think that's amazing, right? If you want to get strong as an ox and you don't really care about your physique, you don't really care about your levels of body fat, you just want to get really, really strong, then hey, man, do it. Right? I'm all for it. Now, obviously, I'm a champion for fat loss. Like that's kind of been my story. For those of you that have followed me for any length of time, like that I grew up as a really big kid and kind of, turned the tide. And so that's the story that I like to share with people, because I feel like that's where I can provide the most, value in your life and the greatest, asset to what you're trying to do. But your goal may not align with, my goal or my story or my whatever. And that's perfectly fine. My hope today is that you guys can take a little bit of what we talk about, a little bit of what we do, and maybe glean a little something from it. So let me know. Let me know in the chat box, man. Let me know in the chat box what you guys have queued up for 2021. I would love to hear where you guys are at for the upcoming year. And so all right. So what we want to do now is we are going to bring in some resources. So as I kind of already alluded to, we're going to focus on 3 different goals that you could focus on. We're going to focus on overall fitness, we're going to focus on fat loss, and we're going to focus on strength. So I'm going to give you guys a few pointers. I'm going to give you guys a few tips and, tactical strategies for how to structure your program, your strategy, just your overall approach to any one of these 3 goals. And we're going to work through them in this order: overall fitness, fat loss, and strength. So, all right. So overall fitness, when it comes to overall fitness, you don't really have to be super crazy about this, man. You really don't. In fact, let's get back onto the soapbox here. Before we get into the weeds and the details of what's going on, let me make kind of an overarching statement. You don't have to be that crazy about Any of it. You don't have to be super structured with your training. You don't have to be super structured with your nutrition. You don't have to focus on dotting every I and crossing every T. You're just not going to need to do that. You just don't have to do that. You really just need to be consistent. You really just need to have, just a daily approach, just a daily attitude, just a consistent, constant effort that's moving you in that direction. I think people would be very, very surprised at what a tiny bit of intentionality would do for them when it comes to overall fitness, right? When it comes to overall fitness, like maybe you want to lose a little bit of weight, maybe you want to get a little stronger, maybe you want to get a little faster, maybe you want to be able to play with your kids for a longer period of time, maybe you want to improve your blood work, so the next time, you have some labs done at the old doctor there, he or she is happy with you. I mean, this can come in a number of different, shapes and sizes, but any of these, consistency is going to be the key. Consistency is the key across the board, of course. But when it comes to this, you don't really need to go, balls out when it comes to your training or your nutrition or any of it, to be honest with you. You can really get away with a pretty modest approach when it comes to any of these, areas. So, all right. So when it comes to your training, more specifically, you're probably going to want to do some cardio. Right? Like you're probably going to want to weave in a little bit of the old cardiovascular activity. Now, what type of cardio should you do? It's pretty simple. You should do the cardio that you will actually do. You should do the cardio that you enjoy. Like if you enjoy walks, like I love walks, love them. Even when my calories are rock bottom and I'm super lean and I'm close to a show and I have no energy, I don't even care, man. I love going on a walk for 60 minutes or 45 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. I really, really enjoy it quite a bit. Maybe you're the same way, right? And now we're so lucky to live in a place like Florida where it's very pleasant year round. And so, if you call, 99 and you can't breathe in August pleasant, it's pretty awesome. So maybe you feel the same way. Maybe like, yeah, man, like I actually enjoy it. Like I look forward to it, right? Maybe you love intervals, right? Maybe you love doing sprints. Maybe you love doing elliptical intervals. Maybe you love doing step mill intervals. Maybe you love doing car pushes, right? Like all that stuff. Like, hey, I love it, man. I love it. The thing that you need to focus on, you need to do cardio that you will actually do. Like you need to do cardio that you will actually complete. And then, so Ross popped in. He said strength. Strength is his goal. I was locked out of the gym for much of last year and stayed fit, but couldn't keep up the heavy work. Hey, man, it's a wild time that we live in, right, brother? I mean, no doubt, dude. Like, trying to keep your strength high. If strength has been your goal for the last 12 months, that's been difficult. That's been a challenge without question because, there's only so heavy. You can only make air squats so heavy. Right? Like you can only make, Bulgarian split squats so heavy. You can actually make them pretty heavy, honestly, with a little bit of, with a tourniquet and a little bit of intentionality, you can make those things kind of like super heavy. But, strength across the board is challenging, man. It's challenging when you don't have access to a regular gym. So, hopefully that will be different moving forward here, Ross. You kind of said you were locked out for last year. Hopefully that's kind of different heading into to 2021. But from an overall fitness standpoint, just a little bit of cardio. Now, resistance training, right? I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you go in there and you want to do high reps with pretty lightweight. I don't care if you want to do heavyweight, like kind of what Ross was saying there. I don't care if you want to use bands. I don't care if you want to use chains. I don't care if you want to use body weight only exercises. I don't give a rip. It's not going to matter. If your goal is overall fitness, here is what you need to do. You've got to get in there consistently and you've got to challenge yourself. That's it. Anything else that you want to do, it's bonus, man. Anything else that you want to do, it's just gravy on the top of the cake, right? That sounds like a pretty tasty cake that we've just cooked up there. But it doesn't matter, right? I mean, if you want to log your workouts and you want to focus on RPE and you want to focus on block design and all that stuff, I love it, man. Like now you're really singing to my heart, but you don't need to do any of those things when it comes to an overall fitness goal. Like if your goal for 2021 is just to, maintain some level of fitness or improve your fitness in a general way, then you don't really need to take it that far if you don't want to. And you got to keep in mind, right? All of these things are investments. All of these things require time. They require energy. They require effort. And so it looks good on paper that you're going to do all these things, right? Like it sounds great. They're like, oh, I'm going to do all these things, man. I'm going to log this in a spreadsheet. I'm going to check out Jim's full throttle fat loss, right? Maybe that's what I need. Hey, maybe that is what you need, but maybe it's not what you need, right? If your goal is overall fitness, then you probably don't need things like that. You don't need full throttle fat loss. Honestly, that's very specialized and very focused on one thing. You need to just focus on being consistent and challenging yourself when it comes to your training. So what about your nutrition? Well, again, you really just need to be consistent here. And specifically, the things that you need to focus on are portion control, lean protein, fibrous fruits and vegetables, right? Drinking enough water, like basic stuff that you already know that you should be doing, right? In fact, I'm not going to, especially when it comes to overall fitness, I'm not going to woo you guys. Right? Like I should have put this in the intro, man, to more clearly kind of let you know what you were up for, what you were up against or in for these next 20 minutes. I'm not going to woo you guys, man. This isn't anything you haven't heard before. This isn't brand new. I don't have some special system. I don't have some secret sauce that's calorie free that you guys can enjoy. And it's like, oh, that's what I've needed this whole time. Like, no, I don't have that. It doesn't exist when it comes to any of this, but especially overall fitness, right? It doesn't exist at all. And so when it comes to nutrition here, you don't need keto. You don't need intermittent fasting, right? You don't need the alkaline diet. Not that anybody actually thinks that's a good idea, but you don't need macros. You don't even need like MyFitnessPal. You don't need any of that stuff. All you need to do is just be consistent and use common sense, honestly. Portion control, focus on lean protein, fruits, vegetables, right? Whole grains, things that come from the earth, right? Like keep it really, really, really simple. And if you do that, and you consistently do that, you are going to improve your fitness. Now, again, I'm assuming that you're starting from a place that's maybe not as fit. Like if you've already leveled up, a couple of levels on your fitness, then you've got to do a little bit more, right? But you're probably not focused on overall fitness if you're in that stage, right? Or if you're at that stage, you're probably not focused on overall fitness or improving your overall fitness because you've already done it, right? If you've leveled up a couple, levels when it comes to your overall fitness, then you're probably not focused on improving your overall fitness because you already kind of know how to do that. So, all right, so that's overall fitness. And I would love to know what you guys think about that, man. Let me know in the comment section. Hey, hit this video with a like. Hit it with a thumbs up if you guys are watching live or on the replay. All these little things, all these little pieces of engagement, man, YouTube loves them. So that would really, really kind of help the cause here. So, all right, so secondly, let's talk about some fat loss. It's going to be a little bit different. We're going to set this up a little differently. So now you do kind of have to level up your thinking. You have to level up your strategy a little bit, right? So when it comes to training, it's not just about, doing some cardio and doing some resistance training. Like, I think you've got to be a little bit more thoughtful here. I think you've got to be a little bit more strategic with your training specifically, like your weight training. You want to structure it such that preserving muscle is priority number one. Because as we're going to talk about on the nutrition side here in just a second, you're going to be in a caloric deficit, right? Which I talk about this ad nauseum. I repeat it constantly because it is so important when it comes to fat loss. Well, if you're in a caloric deficit, guess what? Your body wants to get smaller. Your body is moving and working towards being a smaller person. So that's good. That's what you want, right? Well, the problem along with, losing the love handles and, and squashing the fat cells, the problem with that is you're going to lose some muscle, right? And if you're not careful, you can lose a lot of muscle. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that your training is such that you're preserving as much muscle as you possibly can. Now, how do you do that? Like, what is the secret sauce when it comes to that? Well, honestly, the number one variable that you need to focus on is challenging yourself. At this point, consistency is a given. At this point, consistency is assumed. If you're inconsistent with your training, then nothing else you do matters. But assuming that that's in place, you need to challenge yourself. You need to push yourself day in and day out. That doesn't mean you need to go to failure. That doesn't mean that you need to, take every single set to its, mechanical end. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you need to have things structured in such a way where you are routinely challenging yourself with some sets to failure, with, stopping a couple reps short of failure, with trying out, exercises that really challenge you and movements that really recruit as many muscle fibers as you possibly can. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's about getting more serious, just generally speaking, right? You've got to take a more serious approach to what you're doing. Because again, remember, what are we doing here? It's singularity of purpose. It's Napoleon Hill type stuff, right? Which again, as lackluster as his stuff might be these days, at least from my viewpoint, we can still take that, right? We can still take the singularity purpose and say, well, I'm pushing all my chips in the middle on fat loss. So how do I structure my training, right? I'm not going to give you guys, I wasn't going to come on here today and say, all right, you got to do chest on Monday. I mean, obviously, right? I mean, Monday is International Chest Day. And then Tuesday, you probably do some back. And then Wednesday is leg day, so you probably skip it. And then Thursday, right, is shoulders. And then obviously Friday, you get the bis and tris pump heading into the weekend. I'm not going to give you guys that because I don't care how you structure it. Right, I do think there are some better ways to structure it, of course, and maybe we'll talk about that, on a future shred here, especially since we're going to be doing these on a more regular basis. Not always live. I'm going to mix in some pre-recorded stuff just because it's a little bit easier for me to do it that way sometimes. But you just gotta be more serious across the board. So, Tasty Trader popped in, said good stuff. Hey, we appreciate you, Tasty Trader. Good stuff on your end too. And so, yeah. So what about nutrition? What about your nutrition? What about the nutritional angle when it comes to fat loss? Well, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Number one, you have to be in a caloric deficit. And I don't care if you're doing keto. I don't care if you're doing intermittent fasting. I don't care if you are doing the alkaline diet and keeping your pH levels in a certain range or however you do that diet. I have no idea. You have to be in a caloric deficit, period. You need to be in an energy deficit if you want any hope at really, losing weight and losing fat. That's priority number one. You need to focus on, when it comes to that energy deficit, you need to focus on your fuel sources. So I'm talking about your fats and your carbs, right? You're going to need to be pretty mindful of the fuel sources that you are choosing for your body. Not so much in the actual fuel sources themselves. That was probably not the best way to say that. You need to be very aware of the amount of fuel that you are fueling your body with. Because again, remember, if I have to be in a deficit, there's a threshold, right? There's a ceiling, right? I don't want to spill over, right? I don't want to hit my system with more fuel than it needs and more fuel than it requires to keep me performing, at a reasonably high level while also shedding fat cells, while also, putting my body in a state where it's encouraged to become smaller, which is what we want. And so you need to be mindful of your fuel sources, as I quickly remember how to talk. Macros. Macros, I think, are the best approach here, right? You guys know this, man. If you follow me for any length of time, you know what I'm going to say. It's all about macros. It's all about MyFitnessPal. It's all about that stuff. I just love it because it just gives you all the pieces to the puzzle, right? But that's not the only way you have to do it. You're not required to do macros. You're not required to count macros or track macros or count calories, right? You can absolutely achieve every single one of your goals without counting a single macro. That is 100% true. I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be challenging. I think you're going to run up against some obstacles that could have been avoided had you been tracking macros, but it can absolutely be done. And so if the idea of weighing your food consistently or, tracking your macros all the time just makes you want to, rip your eyes out, then yeah, maybe you don't want to do this, or maybe you do. Maybe it's time to face your fears. I don't know, right? Either way, macros would be my vote. And then Jimmy James. Yeah, Jimmy James knows. Fiber. I've been on James about his fiber intake, man. James is one of our newest athletes inside of Full Throttle, and we just had a little one-on-one sit-down fireside chat. And I said, James, man, where are your blueberries? Where are your blueberries? There should be blueberries in your pocket at all times. If there aren't, something has gone very, very wrong. So that is the fat loss angle. And this is great, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the chat box. I love to hear from you guys. I love to connect with you guys. And yeah, man, just hit me up there in the chat box or in the comment section below if you're watching this on the replay. So, okay, so that's overall fitness. This fat loss. What about strength? And I still want to know what your goals are for 2021. So I know Ross said his goal is strength. That's actually my goal too. And so I'm excited to talk about this last one, but I want to know what your goal is. So again, live or on the replay, let me know. Let me know in the comments what your goal is. So, all right. So lastly, strength. So here, things are going to change a little bit when it comes to your training, right? Things are going to have to get a lot more serious when it comes to your training. You're going to have to be very intentional about your programming, right? Like, I don't really think you can just go into the gym and you can just wing it and expect to be able to maximize your strength levels. I don't really think that you can just, sleepwalk into the gym and say, I'm just going to get stronger. I'm just going to push some heavy stuff, right? And that's going to work. It's going to work for a little while, right? It's going to work for, some period of time. Yeah. But there's going to come a point where you're going to run into a wall. There's going to come a point where it's like, man, no matter what I do, my bench won't go up, my squat won't go up, my deadlift won't go up, my dumbbell rows won't go up, right? My press downs won't go up, whatever you're focusing on, right? You're going to have to be sort of intentional with your programming. You're going to have to be intelligent with your programming. So now this is where, you want to look at things like blocks. You want to look at things like loads. You want to look at things like RPEs, right? Rate of perceived exertion, to kind of measure your intensity from one side to the next. You want to periodize your training, right? So you're not just always hammering away at the same thing over and over and over again. That's a great way to get injured, right? That's a great way to not only get burned out and get bored, but to get injured. Right? And this is coming from a guy, guys, if you guys follow my stuff at all, so let's hop on the soapbox real quick. If you guys follow my stuff at all, like, that I am the biggest champion of sticking with the same program for a very long period of time. Forget this change things up every 4 to 6 weeks garbage. It's garbage. You need to stay with the same thing for at least 8, 10, 12 weeks, if not longer, right? Stay with the same thing. Give your neural adaptations an opportunity to really set the groove for a given movement. Right? Because if you change your workouts up too quickly, and we talked about this recently at the end of last year, right? All you're doing is you're just neurally adapting every week or every 2 weeks. You're not really growing. You're not really progressing. You think you are because you're always sore. Like, you think you are because, like, man, I really, really worked hard. And again, if your goal is overall fitness, I don't care what you do. Just get in there. Change it up every day. It doesn't make a difference. But if your goal is something so specific as strength, you've got to take it to the next level, man. You've got to think about this a lot more thoughtfully. And so, sticking with the same program for a long period of time is a really, really smart thing to do. However, it doesn't mean it has to be the exact same. So here's a great example. I'll give you a personal example of what I'm going through right now. So as some of you know, right, I rigged up the garage with some equipment. It's absolutely amazing. Like, I love it. I'm getting very close. Well, I'm not that close, but I've thought about canceling my gym membership. Thought about it. There's still way too much equipment at the gym, so I probably won't actually execute on that thought. But it's danced around in my mind a little bit. I'm like, man, this is so amazing. Like, I can just do whatever I want, and I can spit on the walls. I can spit on myself. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, this is great, right? Well, anyway, one of the things I'm focusing on out there are safety squats. I have a safety squat bar, which has been amazing because I injured my triceps, which it might actually be healed now, but I'm focusing on safety squats for right now. And I'm on a super hot streak, man. Like, it feels really good. I've got the groove set. I've got it all set. And like, we're really trying to push up, my strength. So I've been doing this now for probably about 10 to 12 weeks. Well, I know that I've probably only got another block left in me, I would say, at these levels, right? Where I'm really pushing strength in lower rep ranges. So I'm probably going to run this for one more block, which is like 4 to 6 weeks. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stick with safety squats, but I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to do some high rep stuff. I'm going to do some speed work. I'm going to do some stuff that's going to allow my system to recover. It's going to allow my joints and my connective tissue to get a little bit of a break. But here's what's awesome. I'm going to keep that groove set. I'm going to keep those neural adaptations in place. So when I come back around, in, I don't know, May or June or July or whatever, and I want to make another run at, pushing my strength levels higher, I'll be hitting the ground running. I won't have to start over from, it's not starting over from scratch, but I won't have to waste time neurally adapting for, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. I mean, I call them calibration weeks. It usually takes me a while to get calibrated to a new movement. So anyway, I wanted to kind of bring that up, and maybe that'll give you guys, some thoughts and insights into your own programming. And so Ross just threw me some emojis. I love it, dude. Emojis are great. YouTube doesn't care. YouTube doesn't even know, right? They're like, that's another comment. Let's give this guy some more street cred. I love it, dude. Love it. So okay, so that's the training side. Now, what about the nutrition side? Here in the final few minutes of the daily shred today. It's pretty simple, right? Here it's pretty simple indeed. You really just need to make sure that you have ample fuel, right? You really just need to make sure that you are fueled up for your training. Remember, strength is your number one goal. This is what you have signed up for, right? This is what you are pushing all your chips in the middle on. Right now, maybe, you have a hybrid goal where you want to get stronger, but you also want to lose a little bit of fat. That's fine. That's a goal in and of itself, right? But you have to understand that if you're all in on strength, your goal is not necessarily fat loss. So, you don't want to get super sloppy, which is kind of what I said here. You don't want to just get totally, crazy with, ding dongs and ho-hos and Oreos and all that stuff. Like, you probably want to keep that stuff within reason. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you are amply fueled up. I'm not sure amply is a word, but it is today. You want to make sure that you have enough energy to push your training sessions. Now, one thing to keep in mind too, though, is that if you have a decent amount of body fat on your frame, like me right now, there's probably a 2 handle on my body fat right now. And that's okay. Like, that's kind of like where I'm living right now. Like, yeah, I'm cleaning things up a little bit, but nothing super crazy. I'm not going to, get back into a bodybuilding competitive season until 2022. And so for right now, I'm probably running a 2 handle on my body fat, but that's okay because my focus right now is strength. Because I have excess body fat on my frame though, that itself is energy. So keep in mind that body fat on your frame is energy. That is energy that your body can use. And so because of that, I don't necessarily need to go hog wild with these pre-workout meals to where I'm like, yeah, man, I got to have pancakes. I got to have lasagna the night before. Like, I got to have goo in my back pocket. And then obviously blueberries in my other pocket, James. Like, I got you, man. And, we don't really need to go that far. Like, we don't need to go that deep into the weeds when it comes to our fuel. I think we just need to use a little bit of common sense, right? Use a little bit of common sense and just understand that, hey, my goal right now, your goal right now, it might not be to prioritize fat loss. It might be to prioritize strength. And you know what? That's amazing. I mean, that's my goal right now, so I can absolutely relate to that. And so, I don't know, guys, these are just a few things, a few goals for 2021 that I think are going to align with a lot of people, right? Overall fitness, fat loss, maybe strength. There could be something else, like some of you may want to be faster. Some of you may want to improve your mile time. Some of you may want to, I don't even know, improve your high jump or improve your vertical jump, right? Like, I mean, these are all amazing, right? Anything that, I'm a big champion for fat loss, obviously. But anything that's fitness related, I love it, man. I love it. Anything that gets you moving, anything that gets you, focused on your nutrition, like, I'm totally on board with all that. So that looks like that's about it, man, for the daily shred today. I appreciate you guys so much, man. If you popped in live, I appreciate you. If you're watching this on the replay, I still appreciate you. Like, you guys are amazing for spending your time with me. If you want to help support what we're doing, you can hit the video with a like. You can subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. You can share this video with a friend. All those things would help. Also, bounce on down to the description, right? Check out the stuff we have down there. We got a lot of free resources down there. The fat loss formula. I've got some cardio plans. I've got my competition training back from 2017 when I was fortunate enough to win the novice title. All those things are free. And then, of course, we have Full Throttle Fat Loss, which is not free. So if you really want to help support what we're trying to do here with F Cubed, you could give that a look. And if fat loss is your goal for 2021, then it might be worth consideration. Let me know if it's something that's on your forefront. Then I'd love to be a part of that. So that's it, man. I think we're done. I think the daily shred has come to a close. You guys are amazing. I will be back maybe as early as tomorrow, but probably going to be Monday. It might be something that's pre-recorded as opposed to being live. I'm going to try to stay live on Thursday afternoons as often as I can, but I think we're just going to start to pump out a little bit more content for you guys to see if we can't help you guys get a little bit closer to your physique, whatever that might be. So have a great day. We will see you guys next time, and yeah.